for getting the vaccination. All adults will be registered from tomorrow. So anyone who's above
Excellent.
18 years to whatever age will be able to get vaccination. And to basically clarify the point that you made is that 70% of uh, 45 and above are vaccinated and 30% are not vaccinated is because of certain people not wanting to vaccinate. There are people like I've seen these interviews in UK also. Similarly, there are a lot of people who have been asked by neighbors to get vaccinated. They said it's my choice. So the legal system provide that choice. So I think those are the people who are actually putting everyone else on risk, and they are not going for the vaccination. And I think
Absolutely.
you made a very good point about digital space. I think one of the positive things that happened last week was the Ingenuity helicopter had a successful flight on a planet Mars, and
Yes.
it is a Wright brother moment for mankind, even though it's a NASA project. But for the first time, we have flown a man-made aircraft on a different planet. So all this is happening because of tech. So I think you made very, very important points that technology is driving. And you also made a point about the India leading in the digital payments. Thank God the COVID has come now, because most Indians are covered using biometrics based mobile phones now. So in fact 99% Indians have mobile phone linked to their biometrics.
Yeah.
And that gives
Yep.
a opportunity for Indian government to start digital micropayments. And gradually over past 4 to 5 years, that limit has gone as much as a banking system. So you,
Yep.
as a if you are in India, and if you're an Indian citizen, you can pretty much transact money as much as a bank would allow as a daily limit without having a bank account. So from
Yep.
A to B, you can do that. So I think it's all technology which is driving it. But I think the numbers are staggering in India. If you look at the population is 1.2 billion. The COVID patients are also huge in numbers,
Yeah.
sometimes almost equal to a country's population. So I think the situation is quite difficult for businesses.
Yes, it is. And I think that, what the vaccination is vital, and what we need to look for in the future. And in the UK, potentially, but we are the one to watch, because now we've got more of our adult population vaccinated than most other large countries. So my feeling is that we should be looking not at have you got COVID, but have you had to go to hospital because of COVID? And that, I think, should be the distinction moving forward, is to say, actually, we can see if vaccinations are working by previously there was 5% going to hospital. Now there's only 10% of the people that are actually needing to go into a hospital that get COVID. That for me will be the success. And that should be what we have to focus on, because then COVID becomes just another illness that we have to be vaccinated against, like influenza. And it's about keeping perspective and proportion, because what we don't want is we don't want the economic system in any country to collapse entirely because we're so worried about getting the swab test and oh, I'm positive or I'm not positive. That's not the point. You could be positive with a vaccination and you've got much better chances than if you are positive without the vaccination. So for me, that's the crucial point there. So the other point you made that I think is really a great opportunity is there is a there is an increasing need for energy, and that energy can be generated through environmentally friendly mechanisms. I mean, India has a lot of sun, it has a lot of heat, and that is an opportunity to provide energy to parts of India that previously haven't been reached, I believe, for all sorts of infrastructure requirements. And as you rightly say, digital mobile technology connections are actually enabling that. And there are also now easier ways to adopt things like mid-tier technology, mid-tier satellite technology to light up regions of large countries like India that have previously been dark to the internet and dark to digital, to open those areas up so they can have access to digital technology. They can then trade with their SMEs globally like we are. And so there's big opportunities, and I think an area that governments need to get behind and support innovation that enables the lighting up of digitally dark, if you pardon the alliteration, digitally dark areas of India and other places like Africa and South America that up until now have not had access to technology. And that can now be made available, which is good for trade, it's good for the local community, it's good for education. So lighting up digitally dark areas, I think, is something that needs to have massive focus, and perhaps it's time to divert some of the public funding away from, dare I say it, from bureaucratic processes. Let's move it into stuff that's going to drive the entire population forward globally, in each of our individual countries. That's what we need to invest in. In the UK, it's super fast broadband. Everybody needs super fast broadband. If you don't have digital connection, you don't have the same opportunity as a business or as an individual. And the same is true across the world. Whether we like it or not, we live in a digital world now. And so we need to be connected. And then, of course, there's also other massive opportunities around cybersecurity. So these are industries that are growing, expanding, and need support, need to be funded and supported by government and implemented by our SMEs. That's the lobby we need to create for our governments. Utilize the SMEs with the technology, with the innovations, help them to scale so that they can support the economies and the SMEs that they're part of, and then trade internationally properly like we're able to.
Absolutely, Mike. I think you made a very important point. I think about 2 years back, we have provided broadband across all villages across India. I think we finished that job 2 years back. But the problem still remains when you leave your village or you go out of your town. That is where the problem is. And the good news is Starlink has started their beta program, and it is pretty much available like any other internet service here. So once the Starlink by end of the year is fully operational in India, then we will not have that problem of losing the connection when we move out from the urban area or from the rural area outside the broadband connectivity. So I think it's a great opportunity for businesses to change their ways and come on the bandwagon. I think there is an opportunity for cybersecurity and also AI-based solutions, because I think when we are actually talking using these video platforms, then we are still missing out the 3D connectivity. So I think we need an AI experience plugged into all of these video platforms, because right now you see me in 2D and I see you in 2D. And it's pretty much like a video conferencing, but I think we need more personal experience. So I think there has to be an AI based engine which is plugged into these.
See my hand coming at you.
There is an opportunity for entrepreneurs either based in UK or India, and I think your platform can help bridge that gap where I mean there is a news about oxygen being scarcely available now in India because of more number of patients. So there is an opportunity. All hospitals have been allowed to produce their oxygen. So there is a new plant required, and so many millions of hospitals across India. So I think there are opportunities waiting to happen in health tech also between UK and
absolutely.
India.
Yeah, another growth area, like life sciences and digital health. It's actually an area that we're spinning out of the scale-up arena ecosystem. The other way is to work with exhibition companies who many of them are now gone online, but they don't have an ongoing presence. So exhibition companies who are running exhibitions across India, we can help those clients of those companies, the exhibitors, to have an online ongoing presence, to help them open gateways into other countries, they land and expand. We can do that through Scale Up Arena. We can provide support on funding, which I don't know a single company that doesn't need funding in some way, shape, or form. So funding is another major area that we can support companies that are looking to expand, and also joint venturing and with acquisitions, potential acquisitions. The way to enter a country is highly unlikely to be quick and effective if you try and go in, open an office, start a subsidiary, and grow it from that. The best way to do it is to have a joint venture or to acquire an existing business. And there are lots of people who are, shall we say, reaching the age where they want to pass on their business as a retirement sale. So there's massive opportunities for that. Our M&A brokering team on Scale Up Arena can support those sort of initiatives. So, we welcome any sort of communication connection for people who are looking for funding, access to markets, partnering, joint venturing, M&A across any sectors, because they all, like I say, need those areas.
That's a very powerful offering, Mike, and I think our viewers would love to participate in your platform and leverage it from various angles, whether they need funding or they need new clients or new regions. I think it's a very powerful platform. So with these positive words, I would like to tell the viewers that let this COVID not put brakes to your plan. You can come and take help from Scale Up Arena, join in large numbers, and expand your business. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us today. We'll catch up in the next show next week.
Been a pleasure, Chandra, and have a great week. And stay safe.
Welcome to Akulmach Live. I am Kanchan Verma, and today is Remarkable Monday. And today we have a special guest, Ritu Gupta, who is the CEO of Four Season PR Agency, and she's quite seasoned professional. So first, let's welcome her. Welcome to the show, Ritu. How are you doing today? As you know that we had been doing public relation tactics in different streams, different segments. So yet again, we are here to discuss about. So what we are discussing today, Ritu?
Thank you, Kanchan. I'm so glad to be back on your show. And today we are going to talk about why and how public relation is being used in the charitable work and, by various NGOs. What is its importance?
Well, great. So NGO also require public relation activity. That is something which is quite remarkable. So how really we use these tactics in public relation in NGOs?
Yes, Kanchan. All NGOs, and whether they are big or small, they do their public relations as per their budget. Any NGO, every NGO has to do public relations. The charitable organizations, they take up the public relations work, because any NGO or the charitable organization can only function if they get good donation. So to generate the donation, you have to undertake various public relation activities. Then only you can survive, because to do any kind of charitable work, to promote your good self, your good activity, to show your concern for the society, you have to publicize about your work which you do at the ground level, at the government level, at various other levels. And for that, you need some money. And that money is being generated via donation. So to have donation, to raise the funds, you need to do public relations.
Well, when we are talking about public relation and especially for NGOs, so do we really require the same patterns of public relation activity like exhibition and creating awareness through newspaper or maybe word of mouth, which is being used for maybe for a long time? So, what are those pillar of activities which are used in NGOs?
Okay, so the public relation work in NGOs and the charitable organization is slightly different. It's pure public relations, but then the methods undertaken are slightly different. First of all, you have to make the case study of your own work, the work which you undertake, whatever your charitable organization does. Your NGO does, you have to make the case study of that, and that case study has to go to the various functionaries in the government. And in case you want to generate fund from any private sector, any big giant in private sector, you have to present your case study. Number two, you have to be very active on the social media. You have to let people know what is your organization all about. I mean, your charitable organization, what does your NGO do? Why it is required, what is the need of this particular NGO. And suppose if you or I make any kind of donation, then there should be a small interview by ourselves talking about the great work being done for the NGO and why we have made the donation, because this is going to encourage other people, encourage the viewers, encourage other people who are there on the social media to make any kind of donation as it suits them. Number three, you should have some celebrity as your ambassador. It is very important that any NGO and every NGO should have some known face. The celebrity can be from Bollywood, can be sports person or anyone. The celebrity, having a celebrity, it really leaves an impact on the mind of the people, because you have to definitely play with the psychology of the general public who give the donation, and also with the psychology of the private sectors, the big giants, the big business houses, because they are the ones who do the CSR, corporate social responsibility. So there is a big chunk of money in CSR that you need to take for your charitable organization. So these the celebrities, they go and speak on your behalf to the masses. They are there on your publicity posters, and they speak about your good work. And if you see in today's world, most of the celebrities are connected with some kind of NGO. So it is a win-win situation for the NGOs also and for the celebrities also, because it saves their taxes also.
Well, definitely, because we require awareness about whatever work we do. And as you mentioned, social media is one of the key aspect when we are talking about public relation, because that gives a platform of interaction. But my question is, suppose if my NGO is 1 year old, so what kind of public relation activity we really start, and what is the duration we should plan, so that we are in the eyes of general public and people start realizing our work and appreciating an NGO, the work we are doing, or any NGO, which is whatever work like child education or safe environment, any kind of work. So how we can plan it and how we can start that kind of activity, especially when PR we are talking about.
It's a very good question, Kanchan. So suppose if your NGO is a very new NGO, it's just 1 year old. So there are various programs which you do, because every NGO does various kind of programs on the grassroots level, whatever you do. So you need to promote those programs. You need to make file of those programs, because after 3 years or 5 years, you can generate government fund also. So to get the government fund, you have to present your case study. You need to have the pictures also of the various programs, various seminars, various activities you are doing. You need to give the complete report also. And at the same time, the same things are going to help you out in generating the funds. If it's 1 year old NGO, you will not get any government fund, but then you will get the funding from the private place, from the private sectors. So you do your PR on small level. You take small step every time. So sometimes you are teaching the kids, sometimes you're talking about their wellness, sometimes you are talking about giving education about child abuse to or sanitizing the general public. So at various level you approach different business houses and let them know that this is what we do. You make the posters, send them the posters, send them your social media promotion activity, and let them know that what you are doing and how can they be beneficial, because your promotion is going to get you the funds. And anyone who's giving you the funds or who's giving you the donation should also know that how it is going to be beneficial for them also. So these are small public relation works which you do, so that where you connect different members of the society with your project.
I would like to hear any case study which you know, and any NGO which you appreciate and they have marvelous public relation activity beside their crucial core work of generating awareness about the cause.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about one NGO which is called Samarpan, and it started in Uttarakhand. It started in Dehradun, and Samarpan was only initially was started from one room in a house in Dehradun. So they were only giving computer education to the kids. As you know, the most of the kids in Uttarakhand, they definitely go to the school. Whether they have to walk a lot, whether they have to cycle out or whatever, most of the kids, they go to the school, and the education is the prime concern for every parent living in the rural area also of the Uttarakhand. So they were giving computer education to the kids there. So when the kids would come back from the school, they would attend 1 hour computer education. They were taught how to use the computers. Plus, they were given some kind of small meal also, like lemonade, nimu pani, shikanji, and patty, burger, paratha, whatever. So they were given the meal also. The meal was given to attract the kids to attend the classes also. It's very important. So this Samarpan organization, it worked there. It worked on this similar level for nearly 5-6 years, and then they started getting the government fund. They moved out of Dehradun and they reached to the rural area where they were educating the villagers about the child abuse also. So from education, they went to the child abuse, and now I've heard that they have collected lots of money, and they are talking about old age homes. They're talking about senior livings. They have various senior people living with them. Also, they have made an orphanage also. So the kids, they have the senior parents, and the parents have the senior young kids living with them. So they have given a kind of a family atmosphere to the senior people also, and to the young orphanage kids also. They have become orphaned because of various calamities happening there, and so there is no one taking care of them. So this particular NGO has given shelter to these kids. So this is a case study that how the NGO can grow itself. You start with one cause, and you can then grow as you get your donation and grow your cause to different aspects related with the main cause.
Right. When we are talking about public relation and then we are discussing about charitable organizations. Now, when we are talking about public relation professional, so the skill set which is required for NGO or charitable PR professional, are they different from other corporate PR professionals?
Not really. Not really. In the charitable organization, you have to again write very well, speak to the media people, because it is the media people who will give you the publicity. Media is always open to take interviews, talk about the charitable work also. So you should have the right contact in the media so that they can, showcase your cause. They can write about it. They can show on your TV channels. They call you for the interview. It is just that you should have good communication skill, and the work you do You make sure that you speak to the people. So what I'm trying to say, you should have an outgoing personality, plus your language should be very good, so that people, they know about it, and you are able to get the fund. So in a way, you should have the marketing skills also. You have to sell your charitable organizations work to various business houses and to the media also, because it is the media which helps you a lot in getting the funds. So you should have marketing skills also.
So, any last thought you want to share when we are talking about charitable organization? Because this is a quite an important segment in the society, and people who are engaged in charitable and NGO activity. So, first is that they are very concerned about the cause, and they want other people to be concerned the cause which we are working upon. At the same time, the public relation agencies who are working with them. So I think it is what personally I feel it's a long activity when we are especially talking about public relation for NGOs. So any agency who is engaged in especially charitable cause and doing a public relation. So any last thought, or any professional who want to cultivate the PR skills, especially for NGOs, would like to share anything?
Yes, Kanchan. First of all, I really want to say that it's a tedious work to be working with NGOs, and since NGOs are most of the time under scanner of the government, so the NGOs are also very careful. They only take people who are qualified to do the job. So if you want to be a PR consultant for NGO, you should be actually qualified. You should have your degree, diploma in public relations or mass communication. Number two, you should have good communication skills, and you should have your marketing abilities also. And I think it's a very good thing if you get connected with NGO, because let me say, CRY, Child Relief and You, then there is Kushi, then Being Human, just name the NGOs. And even I have worked with an NGO for more than 6 years. So most of the NGOs, they have proper public relations department. They have proper PR people working for them, because these are the people who make their annual reports. These are the people who are making their intercommunication reports. So these are the people who go out and talk. So if you really, any young student, any intern who wants to gain some knowledge about public relations, they must go and work with NGOs, because there you actually get the ground level knowledge. You work at the grassroots level. You at times are working with the, the poor segment of the society, but at the same time, you are going and talking with the business houses also, and you are going and lobbying in the with various government officials or bureaucrats also. So you actually are doing public relations. So I will say it's a very interesting field, but it is slightly tedious that you have to be hardworking. That's it.
Well, as usual, it is so lovely to talk to you today and know about the skill set for especially charitable organization. We'll be meeting again with next topic. Till then, bye-bye and you take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello friends, I am Kanchan from Akulmach Technologies and welcome to our show, Great Kings of India. You know that we have been discussing about great Kings of India in our last series. And today I would like to discuss about the great kings from Rajput dynasty. In 11th century, the term Rajput appeared as a non-hereditary designation for royal officials. And several Rajput ruler kingdom played a significant role in many regions of central and northern India until 20th century. The Rajput population and the states are found in north and western, central and eastern India, as well as south and eastern Pakistan also. These are areas which I would like to tell you is like Rajasthan, Haryana, Gujarat, Eastern Punjab, Western Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu, Uttarakhand, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Sikh. But today I'll not be talking about Rajput clan, but the great Rajput kings. The first Rajput kingdom was of Susodia, ruled kingdom of Mewar. Hamir Singh established the Rajput kingdom in Mewar, and Rajputana Empire has been given many great kings and warriors and administrators. To name a few as Rana Sambha, uh, Rana Kumbha, Uday Singh I, Rana Sanga, as I mentioned, Uday Singh II, Pratap Singh, and many more. So, well, today we'll be discussing about Rana Sanga. Rana Sanga was born to Susodia king Rana Raimal in 1482. He was a grandson of Rana Kumbha, who was also a great king. Rana became the ruler of Mewar after a battle of succession with his brother, and he lost his one eye in combat with his elder brother Prithviraj. It was during his rule when Mewar reached to the pinnacle of power and prosperity. As a ruler of Mewar, he united warring clans of Rajputana and formed a powerful confederacy until the uniting Rajput after 300 years. So it was a great job this king has done, because earlier Rajput clan used to fight with each other. So then Sanga said to have fought 100 battles, lost one eye, an arm in the battle, or of course a leg also, in various struggles. But he was very brave king. Following the victory of Babur over Lodhi dynasty, Sanga gathered a coalition of Rajput from the kingdom of Rajasthan. They joined by Muslim Rajput from Mewar, Afghan under Muhammad bin Lodi, the son of Sikandar Lodi of Delhi. The alliance fought against the Babur in the Battle of Khanwa, where Rana Sanga was lost the war. It was the first and last war of Rana Sanga, and he is being remembered as one of the greatest king of this region and of course of India. He was very brave, and he has done one very special task of uniting all Rajput who were scattered at that point of time. So I will be discussing more Rajput kings in coming days. Till then, bye bye, take care.
Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akulmach, and today in our discussion, we want to discuss something which happens with all the tech startup or also with non-tech startups. They spend a lot of their time in developing their products and don't even think about their marketing and sales plan. And this is a very chronic subject. During this discussion we will have a lot of pros and cons and a lot of business discussion. To discuss this further, let me invite my friend from UK, Mr. Mike Bradley.
Hello, Chandra. How are you today?
I'm good, Mike, and for the benefit of viewers, Mike is the group Chief Strategy Officer of Scale Up Arena, which is a global organization helping a lot of enterprises and SMEs, also startups, to scale up and merge up. So, without further ado, let us start our discussion. Mike, people spend a lot of money, millions of dollars, developing their products without even thinking that there is a need for that product in the market. And once the product is ready, will there be buyers available for that product? What is your opinion?
I think you summed it up nicely. Basically, the whole point around, particularly around startups, is that there's a lot of attention given to how many startups we have, how many startups there are in Berlin or London or in San Jose or in Mumbai or Delhi. You know, the more startups we have, everybody gets very, very excited about startups. But the snag is a startup with a product isn't necessarily a successful business to go on to be an emerge up or a scale up. And the reason is, I think, goes right back to basics, because we all hear all the time when we go through business schools and education, the importance of market research. But I think people have a misconception as to what market research is. Because market research isn't just about sitting in a room answering questions in a focus group about what color should the packaging be, or does this taste right? It's actually about saying, are we sure? And particularly in the startup and in the tech space, where it's not a tangible product, it's a service-related offering that you're trying to get businesses, consumers to buy into. The idea of just creating a product and spending money and thinking it would be so nice if we could do this. So you create a product, you spend money on it, but do you know whether that is a solution to a problem or a solution searching for a problem? And I think that is a major issue when people are developing a new startup company or a new product.
Well, I fully agree because I tend to work with SMEs and startups in my own region, and I encountered these confusions in the mind of the chief executives of these startups and SMEs. They have an idea, they have a bright spark in their mind. It's like eureka moment. Hey, this is something which I can do, and it's going to sell like hotcakes. And this is something happening in their mind. But you need a salesperson, you need a sales a chief marketing officer or a salesperson who has seen the world, who has seen the clients, who knows the pulse of the client, and who knows what will sell, who will buy, how much it will sell for, how soon it will sell for. These are the questions which these CXOs don't answer within their mind. They just go with this eureka moment. Hey, let's sink in $1 million and let's see what happens. And then somebody will acquire me after that.
Well, they're hoping. And the way I phrase it is by asking the question, this is the qualification question for me, is how balanced is your business plan? Okay, because when you're going to look for investment or you're looking to grow your business, you're going to have to demonstrate that you have not just a fantastic product and you spent all your development budget on programmers to put together some fantastic app. Because before you get a single penny of external investment beyond family and friends and people being nice, someone's going to say to you, how many people are buying your product? How much traction have you got in the market? So for me, a balanced business plan on the most simple level is not just about the deck, not just about how great the product looks, or it's got all of these different components and we've spent N,000 rupees developing it. It's about, is the balance between your product development and your client development correct? Because it's 0 point putting all of your money for your startup into product development and then expecting experienced people to open doors for you and walk you into clients on a commission only basis. Because if you truly want to succeed, you want to ensure that the people you're engaging with and the prospects, the customers, the markets, the geographies, that they're actually primed, ready to place an order when your product is ready. There's no point in saying, we spent all of our money, sorry, we can't pay anybody to go and develop the market. Because if you haven't sold anything, you haven't got a business. All you've got is a great idea. And it might be a great idea, but you're never going to get a partner to buy into it, or a client to buy into it, or an investor to invest in it, unless you can demonstrate you've got a product that the market actually needs and wants, and you've got some traction, some live partners and clients, ideally some strategic partners, some joint venture partners to help you take it to market. Because, you know, there are thousands of startups. Being a startup, having a great idea is not the end game. That is the runner standing with their feet on the starting blocks at the start of the race. The one that people remember are the ones who reach the finishing line and cross it and win. And the only way they're going to do that in many companies is if they've got the balance right. My contention is, if you're spending 5 million rupees developing a product, you should also have 5 million rupees developing your market and your client base. Don't put your plan together thinking, I'm going to spend all my money on 30 developers to create a product. But, oh, when I go to market, I know I'll ask 5 mugs to come along and work for nothing, to walk me in their spare time, because they won't be motivated to sell your product. Because if you're an experienced person with a black book of contacts, there's no way that you're going to spend your time, dedicate your time, more than maybe I can make a couple of quick phone calls to contacts I know. You're not going to spend a lot of focus time ensuring that that product gets to market. So I think any CEO or MD or founder who is not properly balancing their client and product development is asking for a trouble. They're asking for a problem. Because the other thing, Chandra, that's going to happen is, unless you start talking to clients and prospects and markets, how do you know how to price your product? How do you know how to package your product? Because it isn't going to be the software developer or the chief technology officer that's going to have to go out there one day and say, can you sign this piece of paper to buy our product? That's not the person that's going to get the deals. The person who's going to get the deals is the one who goes to talk to people and actually develops an agreement and a commercial plan that is a cliche, but a win-win. It's got to be a win for all parties, and it's got to be acceptable in the eye of the acquirer. Do you agree?
I fully agree with you, Mike. In fact, your narration has raised 2 very pertinent questions. One is, without understanding the pain point that your product solve, people jump into investing more and more in developing their product. So, coming out with an idea is a very brainy stuff. So people are quite brainy, they are quite smart, and that is why they are coming out with ideas. Yet they completely overlook the marketing and sales functions. Is it
Mm.
because of respect for those functions? I mean, they have lack of respect. What do you think?
Well, unfortunately, I think that selling has a very bad perception in a lot of people's mind, because unfortunately everybody is tarred with the same brush. Okay, so a person who is trying to con someone out of money through a fraudulent scheme is trying to sell you their fraudulent program. Somebody who's trying to sell you a very valuable piece of equipment is also selling to you, but their idea and their value is different. So, but the snag is everybody remembers the bad salesperson, and therefore selling has a bad name. Therefore, people think, well, selling, oh, that's easy. It's either easy or it's full of crooks. Okay, but the point is, unless anybody in business is selling, they're not going to survive. You can have the best business plan on the planet. It could be written by one of the big four consultants. It might even give you a nice valuation figure based on some algorithm. But unless you're actually tangibly converting people, persuading people, and converting them to becoming clients, you have a worthless product or service. And the point is that selling skills are something I personally believe everybody in an organization is a salesperson. Very contentious statement. I mean, the best founders and the most successful people on the planet, and we can all name a few of those. Bill Gates springs to mind. I happen to think Richard Branson springs to mind. These are people who have been able to communicate and persuade and promote their idea, their concept, their product, make it address a market where people think, I must have some of that. I need that, I want it, and I'm prepared to pay the price that they're asking me for it. Bill Gates made a success of Microsoft because he sold PC-DOS into IBM. None of us would have heard of Bill Gates if that strategic partnership hadn't happened. Virtually before we even knew about DOS, the first thing we heard was IBM had adopted this product called, I think it was called PC-DOS within IBM. I could be wrong. Somebody's going to correct me. But basically, it was adopted as the PC operating system by IBM. And that was when Windows became adopted across the board. And so the most successful entrepreneurs are also salespeople. The question I would say is, if you're looking for a job, would you rather go and work for the CEO who's able to sell or the CEO who's able to read a spreadsheet? Because the one who's going to survive long term is the one who's selling. Because the one who's not selling is going to be either taken over or laying off you as an employee, when suddenly he wakes up one day and says, actually, we haven't got enough revenue coming in. We're not making any money. We can't pay our G&A expenses. I'm going to have some later people off. So all of us in business, no matter whether we're business coaches, whether we're selling widgets or hydraulics or apps or web services, whatever it is, we have to sell. And one thing that the Americans do very, very well, and I think we all around the world need to learn from, is they're not afraid of sales. I think sometimes their pendulum swings too much the other way. But I do believe that they do know how to sell, and they're not afraid to sell. And in America, selling is not deemed to be a bad profession. It's recognized that it's an important part of survival for a business and success.
Yes, so I think your advices are very valuable for our viewers, and I think somewhere in few moments back you mentioned about how much budget to keep to allocate for sales and marketing function, and you mentioned 50%. So if your company is $1 million, you reserve half of it for product, your HR, your salaries, etc., and half for your sales expenses and marketing expenses. Do you see? And I'm sure this is the best combination. I mean, the best of breed companies would have this. Like IBM would have this. Microsoft would have 50% budget for sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Is there something that you would like to recommend for startup that they should must have minimum budget for sales and marketing before even they start putting money in the company?
Well, I think when you're putting your plan together, I don't think there's a number, because I think the amount of money depends on the geography you're in, depends on the cost of development, depends on the markets you're going for, depends on the amount of raw material that you're putting in. I don't think there's a fixed number, but what I do think is at the same time you're sitting down with your idea, you need to be thinking, actually, I need to be producing this idea and taking this idea to market in a balanced way, a way that is developing the product, but also developing the base, the market, the geography, such that you don't get to 6 months into product development. You spent 80% of all the money you've got available, and then you think, oh, actually, maybe we should start selling now. I know I'll find half a dozen people to sell for nothing and hope that by the 12th month, we've actually sold something. You've got to start by selling immediately. And as you go on that journey, that's when you develop the product to be a successful long-term brand, because you're actually gleaning real market experience that goes back into making your product better than it is. And particularly in tech, I mean, there are products in the traditional markets, hydraulics, for example, that don't need to necessarily change very much. I used to run a hydraulics company, and we have one product on the shelf that had been around for 80 years unchanged. And of course, from the tech market, I've been in companies where they write products off totally in 6 months. And we are now living in a global, dynamic, digital world where there's competition everywhere. You might think you've got a unique product idea. I'd be very surprised if there's not somebody else in the world somewhere at this very moment developing the product in the same way that you are, thinking that would be great. So it's a competitive world, and that means that, and we see this in tech all the time, that products are continuing on a journey. It's almost like the product never arrives. It's never a final product. It's a product journey, and we're all continuing enhancing it, making sure it's still relevant, making sure we can still monetize it in the changing dynamic market. And so the product has to continually be refined. But that process is impossible if you don't get market feedback. It just becomes a great idea and a great piece of paper, but it doesn't become a tangible, ongoing, long-standing business like Amazon, for example, which did a massive amount of marketing and sales and investment in product until they became a success. I think it took years for Amazon to become a profitable business, but the vision was right and the product was developing along with the marketing.
Yes, in fact, you mentioned few very important and key things here. One is the time to market. I think what you're trying to say is the time to market has to be determined. And if you are a chief executive of a startup, investing your money in developing something, you must have a time to market and viability. For example, you mentioned something about a product, engineering product, which has not changed for last 80 years. Probably it will not change for another 100 years. But I mean, if you look at India, there were companies who could make a 100-year plan. I used to work for a company called Verisign, and to be very surprised when I joined that company, they had a 100-year plan because they knew exactly what they are doing. But not everyone can have a 100-year plan, and
No.
in my opinion, if you don't have time to market clearly defined, you will not have after a year of sinking money in your startup, the world has moved on and your
Mm.
idea is no longer required. People have moved on,
Yeah.
there is something new
No,
required.
absolutely. Yep. Or somebody will have acquired it. I mean, I think particularly in tech space these days, there are elements of a product that have been made somewhere else, and you can graft those into a product to give it additional functionality. It's not like everything that you produce in your product has to be uniquely yours. It just has to have plugins to other parts that enhance your product and keep it relevant in the market. And ultimately, the end game in most tech companies is to be acquired, because what you've produced is a particular benefit to a strategic partner who thinks, actually, rather than us paying them 60% margin, we might as well bring it in-house, own it ourselves, pay the person off, and enable us to actually reduce our cost and use it and deploy it and scale it properly. But all along, that partnership and that massive client would not become a buyer and acquirer of the business if there was no proper strategic sales development going on in the organization to get to that point, because there'd be another 100 people with a different product, slightly different tweak. I think very often it's like the Betamax and the VHS video story. Okay. On the one hand, you had Betamax, which was a very, very good product, technically brilliant. But which one became the global de facto standard for video? VHS. Why? Because they got their marketing and sales right. Why did Microsoft become the number one player for PC operating systems? Because they got their sales, marketing, and partnerships right. It wasn't the only product in the market. CPM was already there. I've forgotten how technical it was, so I couldn't possibly say if it was better technically. But what I do know is that Microsoft got their sales, marketing, and partnering right, and so did VHS. And so if you want to succeed in business, you have to get your sales, marketing, and partnering right, which is why, as you'll be well aware, in Scale Up Arena, we focus on that particular aspect, which is developing the market. Our focus on Scale Up Arena, yes, we get funding in place. We have experts to help with developing the model, developing the business. We can put developers in from partners we have. Those elements are there, but the key drivers to what we're doing on our Scale Up Arena ecosystem and the Ensure Scale Up one is we're focusing on the go-to-market. It's all about selling, strategic partnering, and showcasing your product. So if you're not marketing, you're not going to be there next year.
I think these are very powerful words, Mike. I hope the people who are watching this program implement some of these guidelines that you have mentioned today. These are very, very important for any chief executive who is actually not focused on sales and marketing engine. I think the last question I have from you is what is the best time to set up your sales and marketing engine, in terms of when you have an idea, you want to now ideate out and set up your company? What is the best time to hire a experienced sales and marketing person or a team, CRMs, etc., for any company?
I would say, first thing I would say is ask yourself the question, when is the time that I can afford to not have sales? Because if you can afford to run a business and not have sales, then you need never have a salesperson. You need never find a person that can help you go to market. If, however, your business is going to rely on sales, I would suggest to you, unless you're a salesperson, you might be a very good ideas person, but unless you can sell, the day you need not just a free salesperson, but the best salesperson you can afford is as early as possible in the chain. And when I say that, if you've got a 12-month development cycle for a product, have somebody involved who is going to become your salesperson, because otherwise you're going to go to market with a product that potentially is not going to be sellable. You may not be able to afford them full-time. You may be able to only afford them part-time. But whatever you do, don't expect to get a decent quality salesperson, strategic salesperson to get you into clients, to get you into partners, unless you're prepared to pay for it. Because you will get what you pay for in life. And if you want to get a business going, you need to pay a decent salesperson who's actually going to carry your brand, carry your product, and take it into the market and help you succeed. So there isn't an exact time, but the question to ask yourself is, when is the time I cannot afford to not have sales?
So I think as a professional, I understand. And to answer this question that you ask, I would say even before you start putting money in development, you have to have sales engine, because you have to have information drive that you are so and so developing this product. You have to inform the clients, prospects, that within 3 months, 6 months, you're going to roll out this technology or this product. So I think there has to be some sort of traction being prepared, and for that you need to have a marketing and a sales engine, rapport development, client list, CRM. And you cannot do it in one day. It will take time, because out of 100 people, only 2 will probably end up buying your product. So the sales guys are...
Absolutely. And the other thing that's important on this one, Chandra, is you don't just want a salesperson who will take an order no matter what. What you want is you want a salesperson that's going to sell your value in your solution, be truthful and honest, because what you don't want is you don't want a salesperson who just closes a deal and actually cannot deliver. You know, the person has to actually value a long-term relationship. So it's not the, as we would call, forgiving anybody who's a used car salesman, but you don't want a used car salesman. What you actually want is a strategic sales partner who knows how to generate a long-term relationship with a client. And it's not about, you know, the classic multinational splitting it between new business people and account management, because actually a good salesperson will always have an eye to an account management situation, because you want long-term successful customers who turn into case studies, who turn into reference sites, who turn into your long-term customers, who will be with you for the whole journey until you sell out one day to that multinational that actually does recognize the value in your product.
And in fact, you mentioned very, very important word some time back, which was the feedback. You know, I think that is a very, very powerful word. And unless, you know, a company does not get any feedback, they cannot improve on their production cycles. And this is very important when countries, especially now, are changing regulations. New laws are coming in place. For example, if you look at India, TikTok was very popular here, and India was TikTok largest client, if you can say. But it took just one order to close, to shut down. Less than 24 hours, they were shut down in India. And look what has happened. So there are other platforms whose sales guys were working on this, and they immediately, you know, you'll be surprised, Mike, when I tell you, within 5 days, YouTube was out with shorts, Instagram was out with reels, and Twitter was out with fleets. And I don't know what they call in Facebook the shorts video platform. So you see what has happened here. the largest player gone bust, and overnight it has been taken over by other Czech
All these
companies.
other brands. Yeah,
Right. So,
absolutely.
I'm thinking as a professional, I'm thinking that there must be some feedback happening that this is going to happen. That is why they were ready, and when this happened, they were right there, and the
Absolutely.
consumer.
Absolutely. You see, these large organizations, they have the resources to be able to implement these solutions at the drop of a hat. Okay. Which is another reason why you have to be very clear on how your product is going to be sustainable in a competitive market. Because otherwise you'll plunge your life savings and a few other family and friends' life savings into something which is actually a fantastic idea, but nobody's buying it. And so you've got to do the strategic selling, see it as a serious role, see it as an investment in your business, more of an investment than investing in the product, because the product generally won't sell itself.
Absolutely right. So let me summarize our discussion today, Mike. I think the most important thing that every chief executive has to look at is the deep stick marketing surveys, which you can do even before you start developing or making your company. So you know exactly whether your product is sellable, not sellable, how many people will buy, how many people are showing interest. So you do a dipstick marketing surveys. After you've done that, you actually invest in your sales and marketing teams, set up your CRM, set up your client base, collect the data of the client, and start informing them regularly so that you don't piss them off. You actually inform them and say that, hey, I'm coming with this solution. And also get feedback constantly so that you can incorporate their pain points. Because if your company is not solving pain points, nobody is going to buy your product for even 1 rupee or $1 or a dime. So you need to
Exactly.
solve exactly, understand the pain points of the clients, and that is when
We
your
all know
product
the
will go.
importance. We all know the importance of networking, Chandra, don't we? Which is, if it's not what you know, it's who you know. So you might have a great product. Who's going to buy it? And if you haven't identified and developed and invested in the development of those people, that network, that client base, unfortunately, your business plan isn't balanced, isn't going to get investment, isn't going to get acquired. So you need to ensure you've got that balanced investment between client and product development, and ecosystems like Scale Up Arena. We're there to help make the connections, the corporations, the collaborations, so that people get closing deals faster.
Absolutely, Mike. In fact, Scale Up Arena is at the forefront of solving such problems for the startups and SMEs. However, I think your advice is very valuable today. It's basically weighs in gold. Uh, I hope some of these viewers take this advice and start becoming strategic in their sales initiative. So without being strategic, even though Scale Up Arena will not be able to help them also. So first get the strategy right, and then Scale Up Arena is there, which will help them take their solution globally. So thank you so much, Mike, for joining me today on this very, very important business discussion.
Been a pleasure, Chandra, as always. Good to speak to you.
See you next time on something even more interesting, Mike. Have a great week
Absolutely.
ahead.
Thank you very much. Take care, Chandra.
Bye bye.
Hello friends, this is Chandra from Akulmach Technologies, and today in the video I would like to give my views about the collaboration, online collaboration tool which are cloud based, and we have launched one such tool for Indian wealth management, financial services, insurance type companies. Uh, Now the idea is basically when their officers are engaging with their high net worth customers, then they have to spend a lot of time in traveling, crossing the traffic, meeting the client, convincing him, and so on and so forth. What if they are able to sit in their office and have a secure video session with them? During the video session, they can actually talk about their product in much more length, and there is complete secrecy maintained. There is complete IP secrecy maintained. At the same time, if there is some form to be filled, the client can fill the form, and the financial advisor can guide him step by step on how to fill these forms. All of these steps are recorded in an audit trail, and with 128-bit encryption, and all of this is available for future scrutiny, etc. So the advantage in this collaboration tool is, one, the finance officer is not traveling and going through, wasting a lot of time going through the traffic, and so on and so forth. At the same time, he can then service more number of clients. For example, if he is traveling from his office to the HNI customer, he will have to considering the time spent in going from one point to the other point, and so on and so forth. On an average, if they can manage 3 to 4 meetings in a day, with our tool, which is called Busy Desk, they can have 10 engagements. So this way, their profitability in terms of utilization of their time can be much better utilized, and they can do a better job in terms of managing their client. At the same time, client need not wait or plan a specific meeting with his finance advisor. He can take the call as and when he is free in his own leisure time. So these are some salient feature of Busy Desk, which we have launched in India, and we feel there is a huge potential for adaptation of this particular tool, specifically with insurance agent, insurance aggregators, banks, wealth managers, and similar companies like this, even brokers who have the customer dealings. So with this, I would like to just leave this at this particular point, and look forward to meeting the insurance and banking players and giving them this demo of how powerful this tool is. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant, and welcome to Akulmach. And today in Doctor Speak, we would like to discuss something which affects a lot of people. Actually, it is something called sleeplessness. There is a medical term for it, and therefore, let us invite the doctor, Dr. Pooja Bedi from Shimla. She is joining us, and we will discuss more about this. So, how are you, Dr. Pooja?
Good afternoon, CK. I'm absolutely fine. This is a pleasure to connect with you every time.
It is our pleasure. And, doctor, that many people are suffering from something called less sleep hours, like including myself. I cannot sleep more than 5 hours or 6 hours. And whatever I do, I even, relax or do whatever, I get up in 5 and a half. My total daily sleep is only 5 hours or maximum 5 hours, 30 minutes. I'm sure there are people who are even sleeping less. So I think this is something which is suffering many people. Would like to take your opinion on this.
Yes, CK, as you yourself actually clearly answered the question that you sleep for 5 hours, and if you are feeling perfectly fine the very next day, it's absolutely fine. But if it is troubling your daily chores and your day to day work activity, your personal life, then definitely it's something that we have to cater for. So, sleep is basically defined in two different population groups in terms of quantity and quality. So even in spite of sleeping for 5 hours, that the quantity wise it is little less, but if the quality of the sleep is good, then it really is not much of the concern. If you are able to get into deep sleep, if all the stages of the sleep pattern is covered, it is absolutely fine. But for some people, for certain population, it varies. For them, the quantity also matters. Like if they keep on looking at the watch that I slept today for 5 hours, I had a good sleep because I slept for 8 hours. So quantity in some population it matters, but more or less it's about the quality of the sleep we have. So there's a term called sleep hygiene. So how do we make sure and consider all those parameters so we get good quantity as well as the quality of the sleep? Both of them are very, very important. It's not that the quantity isn't important. You do require, everybody requires, as per the age group, a good sleep of 6 to 8 hours every day to stay active and healthy in all the different parameters of the health, the way we define or the WHO defines it. So it's very crucial to have a good sleep of 6 to 8 hours and a good quality sleep in order to stay healthy. So that's absolutely fine if you're sleeping for 5 hours and you're active other day and it's not troubling your work schedule or your personal life. It's absolutely fine.
Doctor, I think I will ask you one very pertinent question. Why I'm sleeping for 5 hours or little over 5 hours? Simply because before I hit the bed, I have my emails to answer, and before I
Mm.
get up, I have my emails to answer, things to do. So I'm actually sleeping along with my mobile, and I'm sure a lot of people are doing that. I know it's wrong, but there is no way we can help it, because it's like some sort of work that you want to get rid of, so that your day is more productive. So I think all of us are doing that. I clean my emails in the evening, as well as before I leave the bed I finish all my emails. So this is what is happening also. What is the side effect of using mobile when you go for sleep?
Oh, yes, that's a very, very apt question for today's time. See, as you correctly mentioned, that the looking at laptop or any mobile and you want to be clutter free before you go to sleep. So all this kind of blue light exposure, it definitely affects the secretion of the melatonin. That's a sleep hormone. So if you trouble that particular hormone, you're not going to get a good quality and quantity sleep, which is so crucial for the next day of working. So somehow the individual is required to do the scheduling in such a manner that whatever the clutter of the work that you want to sort it out, you should do it little prior rather than going it to bed. In fact, they say that on the bed is only meant to be sleeping. It's only made for the sleeping purpose. So if you add on your work there, you're adding on the unnecessary stress also. So my recommendation is ki please either you be little relaxed and do the cluttering thing, clearing of the clutter maybe in the morning, or your work that you want to finish, get up a little early in the morning rather than exposing yourself to the blue light and troubling the balance of the melatonin, which in turn will definitely affect the sleep cycle. So it's so crucial that you please, or that particular individual must not use any blue light device before getting to bed. So it's ideally recommended either you can get up an hour early, that's perfectly fine, and do your work at that particular status. But in case you think that it is going to trouble your sleep, then I highly recommend please do it a little early so that you are giving your eyes and your mind a little calming, soothing sleep hygiene factor and a parameter where you get into good deep sleep. So please schedule it. It's not that difficult also.
Yeah, but the reality is that if you can get rid of, you see, people like me would be getting 200 to 300 emails or messages of different types on daily basis. So it's a lot of work replying to people, and if you don't reply, it looks like something which is not professional. I mean, suppose you say yes, no, or if you don't respond to that person, it appears sort of a bad practice, bad professional practice. So if you can say that, I'm free, not free, etc., even a small reply would maintain your professionalism. So only for that perspective we actually try to close all these email loops. And it has been going on for last, many years since we started our career. It's been there. But I think I have done a lot of reading that blue light creates a lot of sleeplessness in people. And now what has happened is that if I don't finish my work, I have another worry in my mind. I have not finished. So it has sort of become a habit, but I know it is wrong. However, this is a typical case for a person like me, but there could be people who may be affected by some sort of serious condition where they don't even get to sleep 2 3 hours, or they don't even get to sleep. In those cases, what is the remedy?
Uh, Coming to the first part, where you think where we are, I myself include in your category, because professionalism definitely comes up sometime where you have to be available at odd hours also. So that's perfectly fine if it is happening on odd hour basis. But for people with, if this is happening on routine basis, that you are getting exposed to blue light, or you're on your laptops or mobiles to reply to people, so I will recommend first thing that please do the meditation before going to sleep. I'm not saying do it for 30, 40 minutes. No, that's not required at all. A good meditation of, in fact, of 7 to 10 minutes will make you sleep very, very nicely in a very modest amount. So that is the first thing. Please do meditation. In case somebody is not uh, equipped with how to do the meditation, they can simply do the breathing exercise and close your eyes. And if you follow the simple breathing, there's a particular pattern to do the breathing exercise. So if somebody follows it, it definitely soothes the mind as well as the eyes, which get individual into a good sleep. So my recommendation, meditation, breathing, and some kind of eye exercise. So your eyes, whatever soreness they have suffered because of the exposure or exertion, we tend to work the entire day, so they are very very exhausted. So please do some simple, very basic eye exercise before going to bed. If we have to, getting into a good sleep pattern. Coming to the second part of the question, where you mentioned that yes, sleeplessness actually can lead to very serious conditions. Uh, First, we have to rule out why the sleeplessness is happening. So, the first cause, that is the physiological cause. It can be because of the comorbidity factors. Like, for example, in hyperthyroidism, very simple one, people tend to sleep less. So, obesity can sometimes lead to sleeplessness, and there are many other medical conditions which can lead to. There's the psychological factors, the second thing. If we're talking specifically about the psychological, people having anxiety issues or depression, they tend to suffer insomnia, and vice versa. In fact, insomnia can also lead to anxiety and depression, maybe in later on cases. But yes, it really affects vice versa in both the cases. And the third is the medical, medicine induced kind of medication we take. It definitely affects the sleep pattern. And in medicine itself, I will also include certain chemicals. Some people are used to smoking, some are more addicted to nicotine, caffeine intake, drugs intake, in youngsters. These all conditions can lead to sleeplessness. Now, sleeplessness, it actually affects the way the factors are causing it. It affects the psychological mindset of a person. It affects the physiological mindset of a person, as well as the societal factors. You know, Talking specifically about the psychological factors, there are so many mental cases that are coming up just because people are not able to sleep nicely, and they come out saying that they are not able to sleep. Either they get up in the middle of the night, or they used to wake up little late, but now the waking pattern has also changed. They wake up early now. So all these are, you can say, initial indicators which tells us that there might be some medical intervention that is required in such cases. So yes, you are very right in saying that sleeplessness or insomnia can lead to major medical conditions in people. Yes.
So, doctor, is this related to things like hypertension and also type A diabetes?
Yes, definitely. Yes, hypertension definitely, and type 2 diabetes as well. They both the cases, the sleep pattern is definitely affected. As I mentioned, that the medical conditions can actually lead to insomnia or sleeplessness. So the person is continuously in a stage where they are putting effort to sleep, which make them mentally more drained out. So somehow, yes, the comorbidity factors as hypertension, high BP, hyperthyroidism, and many more such conditions can actually lead to sleeplessness.
So I think the one good advice that you have given is, you can have you can do a meditation 10-15 minutes. You finish your work, sit on a bed and do meditation for 5 minutes. That will help you sleep continuously for 5 hours in a sound sleep. So I think that's a very good advice. Anything beyond, if you're facing any problem, I think you need to consult a doctor to take some medication. And I think meditation is one of the key ingredient. If we do that, then it will solve some of our problems also.
In fact, many of them, CK, to be very frank, because if somebody is mentally sound, the mental level or the balance can actually cater for the physical and the spiritual health as well. So it's very important to stay mentally healthy. That's very crucial, and for that, one definitely need a good sleep pattern. And one thing that I always recommend in my clinic in day-to-day consultation. In fact, today in the morning also I told a person to have a glass of milk with fistful of nuts. Trust me, it really helps a lot to get into a good sleep. Try to have your meal a little early, around 7:30 or 8 o'clock. If somebody can have their meal at that particular time, then your stomach is and your abdominal activities, bowel movements, everything is looked after very nicely. And the cases which get troubled because of the acidity and many other gastric factors, the sleep will be catered for very nicely. So having a little early meal in the evening uh, will definitely look after the good bowel habit, and in turn will have a good sound sleep. So I always recommend a glass of warm milk in the night, independent of the fact of what the weather is going on, but warm glass of milk with fistful of nuts. Let me add one more thing. Magnesium is a very, very good source of, you know, sleep pattern. So if somebody is deficient in magnesium, it can lead to sleep deficiency. So it's so crucial to maintain your magnesium, and that can be easily catered just to have a couple of bananas a day, and the magnesium need can be catered very nicely. So magnesium is a very crucial factor that we keep on ignoring, and sometimes it happens in the clinic also that the clinicians are not able to diagnose the real root cause of the thing. So dietary factors are also very, very crucial as far as the sleep is concerned. Have your diet little early in the evening, so bowels are a little lightened up, and then to have a fistful of nuts with a warm glass of milk, and definitely not to have much of the carbs, and overfilling, especially in the evening time, is not a good idea.
So I think to summarize today's discussion, first of all, we need to do little meditation before we hit the bed. Second is, in the morning we should have warm milk with nuts. Uh, Things like almonds. I think that's the most preferred nut. And fourth is at least one or two bananas during the day. So I think these will solve some of our problems. Anything more than that will require a doctor's intervention. So I think it was a pleasure talking to you today, Dr. Pooja, and thank you very much for coming over and discussing this very important subject, which is affecting, I think, 80% of the population today.
Thank you, CK. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
See you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Hello friends, welcome to Akulmach Live. I am Kanchan Verma. Today we'll be discussing about a city, Liverpool, its culture and heritage. But before that, a word on our giveaway.
We have some unique Akulmach memorabilia which will make you look outstanding. The graphics on these corporate gifts are based on the global best business practices. To become recipient of one of these gifts for free, you have to watch this video till the end and provide your valuable comments. Or you can also share your experiences. The person who makes the best comment would be chosen to become a recipient of these beautiful Akulmach gift, absolutely free, delivered to your doorsteps. The winner would also get a chance to be invited live as a distinguished panelist during our next video. What are you waiting for, friends? Please subscribe Akulmach and smash that like button. Now let's get back to our discussion.
Hello friends, welcome to the show and today we'll be discussing about one wonderful city and that is Liverpool. To discuss about this wonderful city, we have Sitesh Srivastav who has traveled to Liverpool and he's the best person to tell us about the history, the heritage and the achievement of Liverpool when we talk about the World Heritage. So welcome to the show Sitesh, how are you doing today?
Hey, Kanchan, this is wonderful talking to you. And I remembering Liverpool, I remember the great British city, Liverpool, today. And I want to share my experiences with you. How have you been?
I am wonderful and I'm eager to hear about Liverpool. And I am planning to go there maybe after when the good times come after COVID. This is the first traveling. The Liverpool will be in the first list of my traveling.
Well, that's very interesting to know, Kanchan. I used to stay 26 miles, or yeah, 16 miles outside Liverpool, a place, a small, scanty, and sleeping town called Warrington. And I used to travel most of my weekends to Liverpool. And I have very fond memories of the city, fond memories of the remembering the historical presence of Liverpool in 1800s and later 1880 when the city got its first official tag of a city. But Liverpool was a bustling Atlantic shore place of the British mainland, and it is connected via the Mersey River and the Irish Sea. And it is a wonderful place to be. And I would like to talk about certain places which have remained with me ever since.
That's great. And the Liverpool was actually announced as a city by King John by maybe 1207. And since then, this city is developing. So I would like to know what is the history of this wonderful city?
Well, to start in the modern times, where it is located in the Irish Sea, connected with the Mersey River, in 1800s, early 1800s, this was the place which was known for the colonial slavery times of early British times. In fact, there is an international slavery museum also there. And that's where we had certain big traders' names who were on the slavery trade. It was also called the Atlantic slavery trade, where the Africans were put onto the ships and sent to the American mainland. Later on, this city became a big trade city, not just for the slavery, but also for bringing around traffic, trade, people, culture, food, and whatnot. And a lot of literature, poetry, music, architecture of this city starts showing up after 1850. and I would like to talk about a couple of them, namely Albert Dock, Liverpool Cathedral, and the topmost and known all over the world is the Beatles Story Museum, about those four great musicians. And that's where I want to remember my journey with Liverpool all the time. And I maybe when you go, I will join you, Kanchan.
Sure, you are welcome, and I am looking forward for the good times to come. And it became a port, and it remained a very very progressive city till 1851. So I would like to know the place which you like most during your stay at Liverpool.
Well, Kanchan, I was mostly attracted for the, out of all these places, the museums, especially the Beatles, because Beatle always has been very popular in India. Growing up in India in late 70s and 80s, Beatles was a staple music in our homes, in our friends' places, and the parties, of course. So the Beatles Story Museum is something which is one of its kind of a museum in Liverpool. It tells the story of the four lads from the Liverpool who went on to become the most successful bands in the world from their small beginnings. And all over the Liverpool city, you can hear the hums and the twists and the foot tapping music of the Beatles in the taverns, in the restaurants, in the malls, in the sideways, in the street walks. This city is full of music, and Beatles were the ambassadors. Beatles had a great connection with India also, Kanchan. They had traveled to India in the 60s, 68, I believe, 1968, where they had all 4 or 5 of them had come to India. And so that is something, the Beatles Museum, Story Museum, I would like to go. In fact, that is the only few of the songs of Beatles are the only English songs that I can sing very naturally. Other English songs, I am literally, I am a connoisseur on those. Then comes the Albert Dock, Kanchan. It is one of the most aesthetically pleasing attractions. It is a World Heritage Site of that waterfront. And it is also a collection of several grade 1 listed buildings in the country. And most of the, a number of Liverpool's popular attractions can be found in the Albert Dock. So, I have a very vivid memories of walking around Albert Dock and going to Beatles Story Museum. I never mind, paying around £4 of ticket by from Warrington to Liverpool. And many Saturdays, many weekends, I have traveled and I have been to Liverpool. And I always was wondering, and when I heard about the Titanic's start point, the registry point was Liverpool, it adds to the aura of that city, right?
Yeah, it is a place of innovation, invention, as you know, and it is also a place, or I can say a site of first airport, which was built in Britain. So I really feel that this city is quite vibrant, and I also feel that the ethnicity of the city is, I think, cosmopolitan, because every part of people from traveling from different countries you will find at Liverpool. So tell me some any intelligent and any interesting incident about Liverpool.
Well, Kanchan, two things that stand out in my journey to the Liverpool. One is definitely the music, which starts with Beatles. The other is about the literature. The third is about the museums, especially the Maritime Museum, the marine museums. And I remember going to the Beatles Museum and watching everything in awe about seeing how 4 guys in the 15 years old, 16-year-old guys, they went on to become the big musicians that we have known, the first star rock band. But you know what? The best part was finding out a very, very special souvenir that I want to show is the Beatles tie that I could get, which features all the four of them here: John Lennon, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, Paul McCartney, and their lives and this is a prized possession of mine. And whenever I have put it on for a party, and it just takes me back to the Liverpool. And apart from that, Kanchan, I also want to share that in several of the Indian restaurants, I could hear the old stories of the connection between Indian ports and the Liverpool ports, because a lot of textile trade, indigo trade, spices trade during the British times were basically taken through the Liverpool port, Liverpool side. And I mean, I have wonderful memories of Warrington, wonderful memories of Liverpool. And the one that I also want to mention here, and we might cover someday, is Manchester.
Yes, so I would like to ask you any advice or anything which you want to tell our future visitors to Liverpool, how they should plan their trip to Liverpool.
Well, today's life, Kanchan, is mostly about the popular attractions. And I think one of the most popular attraction is the football. And Liverpool FC football club, Everton football club. That you can feel the football frenzy, the football frenzy in the air. And that is so stark different from the music world, which is so soothing music of the Beatles and the other musicians. So I think youngsters, youth, football fans, they should start with the Liverpool FC, the stadiums where they play, and then people should try to visit the historical past, and not 500 years old, but maybe 1,000 years old history is too far. But from 1800 years, the International Slavery Museum shows wealth, 18th century wealth that came from the British slavers transporting Africans across the Atlantic. And while you stand at the Albert Dock and look at the Atlantic Ocean, you just feel that somewhere in between there was one Titanic. But beyond that, there were the east coast of America, which is not so far enough. But the icy waters of Atlantic, they are a real challenge.
Every city is attached with one story. If we think about Paris, then we also think about Paris the Prince. We also think about Helen of Troy. Likewise, if we think about Delhi, we think about Mughals, the attachment, the stories, the building, the architecture. And we think about Marathas and conquest. How you would summarize Liverpool in one sentence?
Charles Dickens, the great writer Charles Dickens. I have read stories of Charles Dickens from my childhood days, and he has written some very interesting stories. David Copperfield comes to my mind right now, and A Tale of Two Cities, Great Expectations. So for me, Liverpool, though it has a very vibrant, wonderful nightlife, for me, any day, Liverpool is going and is spending a peaceful walk around the Albert Dock and idling around in the sun and just humming the music and reading Charles Dickens.
Now let's talk about the cuisine of Liverpool. And of course, I also want your advice for the people who are vegetarian. So you have to tell us the vegetarian cuisine and non-vegetarian cuisine where people can go and pull their belly.
Well, Kanchan, it is interesting to note that the staple British food is fish and chips. So all over the Britain, you can find fish and chips as the uh, go-to food. But in Liverpool, there is a very interesting fusion of food available. One, because of it has been a port city, so a lot of fusion of foods from Indian cuisine to the African cuisine to the British cuisine, and uh, Ireland, Irish cuisine. So and there's a big Chinatown also. So a lot of Chinese food. But again, we know, I mean, Chinese food mixed with British flavors. So from a vegetarian point of view, there are some interesting Indian joints. Opens Liverpool city center is a great place where you can get a nice and varied variety of foods. So food is actually, you can say, it's a taste buds delight. It's very, very interesting, and some flavors are so well mixed. You feel that you are not in Britain, you are in a international melting cuisine city.
Now, if somebody is planning a 15-day tour to Liverpool, so how would you like to advise how they should travel within the city, or they should take a tour guide, or they can travel by their own, taking a map and enjoy the sights and stories about Liverpool?
So there are, Kanchan, like any international hotspot, Liverpool has got a lot of opportunities for the city tour, city outskirt tour, hop on, hop off buses. There are limousines. One can do a 4 hour limousine or 5 hours limousine for as I would not say less, but as much as $160 for 4 hour trip in the Liverpool city side. And that particular, it's a kind of a big car which can house almost like a 6 people in one shot. But my favorite always has been by foot. I have always enjoyed, I have always enjoyed by foot. I reach to the city and then I have taken by foot, because when you do the foot tapping on the road, you are actually getting the feel through the feet, and you are getting the sense of the town. And some cartographer had told me this. But I have also enjoyed the hop on and hop off bus. So for a £5 ticket or a £7 ticket a day, unlimited stops, unlimited rides. And one thing not to miss is the ferries on the Merseyside Ferry, which takes to some of the very interesting attractions of Liverpool, from the old houses, colonial houses, Gothic structures, and also some of the very modern joints, food joints around the Merseyside Ferry ride. So ferry ride is one. I would say hop on, hop off bus is one, but my favorite is by foot. By foot, Liverpool by foot.
Great. Now, I just want a piece of advice from you. Suppose if I am planning a trip to Liverpool, how many days should I plan for Liverpool? What will be the exact timing where I can stay there and have a satisfactory visit to this particular and beautiful city?
Well, if you are traveling to Britain, Liverpool is a must. Liverpool is a must to get the feel, get the fragrance of the great English aristocracy. And I think 3 days, 4 nights is something that you can really enjoy by foot, by hop on, hop off bus, and by doing something very personal of visiting a special museum or trying to participate in some local event. So I think 3 days, 4 nights. But yeah, I have seen tourists coming from London and just staying for 2 nights and 3 days, or sometimes even 1 night and 2 days kind of thing. There are plenty number of buses and trains between London and Liverpool. Only between Warrington and Liverpool there are 70 trains in a day, and the minimum ticket is £3.79 one way, and 16 miles takes just 20 minutes or so to reach from Warrington to Liverpool Lime Street station. That station itself is quite a Gothic and quite a interesting architecture it has. But I must say, if you are going there, and since I know you for some time now, you would enjoy a 3 days, 3 nights, 4 days trip.
Now, let me ask you about the art and culture aspect of Liverpool, because I have read that in Liverpool you will find mosque, you will find a cathedral, you will find a place for worship for African people. I don't know about any Hindu temple, but I would like to ask you, what is the art and culture or painting? What is the influence on those aspects of Liverpool art and architecture? It is more inclined to European art, or it's more inclined to African. So that I want to really understand.
So while I'm not an expert on the world architectures, but moving around Liverpool, I felt it had a great influence of the people or the traders who were touching its port. So one is the very Victorian style buildings in the British Victorian style buildings, but then there are modern architectures as well. I even, I visited one museum where they were showing that at one point of time when the slave trade was in big peak, they were also trying to build some structures which look more familiar to the people coming from other places of the world. So suddenly once you reach there, whether you see Charles Dickens' house or you see the Cunard building or the Albert Dock, there is something also a triangle, Baltic Triangle. If you see that Baltic Triangle, that is something you will feel that this city has got a great balance of modern versus the medieval kind of architectures. It is sometimes it feels lonely in the city, but the night time, if you take a stroll around, let's say in the evening times, the kind of streets lit up with lights, lamps, and the music and the ambience, and then the breeze from the Atlantic, it makes for a perfect evening. Even single, it makes a perfect evening.
I have also read that Chinese were the very few settler who settled at Liverpool very early, maybe in 18th century. And there is a very good intermingling of culture of Chinese and English or Irish, and we can find that kind of culture in Liverpool. So tell us about Chinatown. You just mentioned a few minutes before.
Yes, Kanchan, thanks that you asked about it. And I have seen Chinatowns across my travels. And suddenly I have now realized that Chinatown is a very nice way of promoting any country's culture. In fact, we should have something like an India town across the world in all the countries. But talking about the Chinatown, it is in the Liverpool city center, and the gate of the Chinatown is basically brought from Shanghai when it was opened, and it dates back to the 19th century. And now it is the most visible. Chinese people are the most visible ethnic minority group in the city, and almost I don't know the numbers. And there are so many Chinese owned supermarkets, restaurants, community groups spread across Liverpool's Chinatown. In fact, there is a Liverpool Chinese Gospel Church and the Liverpool Chinese Christian Disciples Church. And as I said, the arch located at the gateway of Chinatown, it is also one of the largest of its kind outside China. One full day, if you just take into the hop on, hop off bus, I think it takes you to the West Tower, the Beetham Tower, the Unity Residential, New Hall Place, Metropolitan House, the Plaza, Silk House Court, and the commercial district of Liverpool. And I am sure that you will never for a moment be bored about this.
Well, after listening you, I really feel like going to Liverpool, and I think when the travel will start, the first city I will be visiting Liverpool. It was so wonderful to talk to you, Sitesh, today and know about the city where you lived, you have worked. So we'll be taking up any other city in our next episode. Till then, bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you, Kanchan. Have a great day for bringing up the memories of Liverpool.
Bye, Sitesh. Hello friends, welcome to Akulmach Live. I am Kanchan Verma, and today in this episode we are taking you to the spiritual city of the world. But before that, I would like to remind you there's a free gift available only for you. So stick around to this episode till the end. We will guide you how to avail your free gift. Welcome to the show today, and today we are taking you to a wonderful city which is also called as Ancient City, which is also termed as a spiritual capital of India. And just giving you a cue, this is a twin city, and the other city which we compare is Kathmandu with this city. So today we have a guest who will be discussing about this wonderful city. So without wasting any moment, I would like to welcome Sitesh Srivastav. So welcome to the show, Sitesh. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Kanchan, from the land of Khaike Pan Banaraswala. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity to talk about the city, which is a twin city of Kathmandu, and it is also my soul city. I have a soul connection with Varanasi, and I can say Varanasyam Nadi tu Siddh Pur Sarsavita Pravishta Tripatha Ganga Tasmin Kshetre Mama Priye, where the Lord says that this city is so lovely to be, which is surrounded by the river Ganga. Thank you. How are you, Kanchan?
I'm fine, and definitely this city is wonderful city because it is ancient, and we have a very strong connection when we talk about Buddhism, when we talk about Hinduism. Now, I also read that at 528 BC, for the first time, Buddha established Buddhism in the city, and he narrated or he addressed the first sermon of Buddhism. So yes, we are eager to really know about the city. Please go ahead, tell about the city. As you know that this is a soul city for you, so I think that people will get more to hear about the city from you.
Kanchan, this is a soul city for me because I can do a soul searching in this city, as my mother belonged from this place. She grew up on the banks of Ganga. And I have always gone back to Varanasi looking for the mystical questions and mysterious answers. Varanasi or Benares or also Kashi is something which is as ancient as human beings themselves. A recorded history of at least 3,000 years, first mentioned probably in Mahabharata, a place where Goswami Tulsidas and Kabir, they actually found their mojo on writing what we have said and told centuries. And this city is about religion, mysticism, philosophy, science, and about something which is about a microcosm of universe, how things move in this city and how they come into their being. Every object in the city has got some mysterious stories to tell.
Right. I've also heard and read somewhere that the architecture of the city is based on the mandala architecture, which is considered to be very auspicious when we talk about Hinduism and when we talk about Buddhism. So let us take a tour of buildings, temples in the city.
Well, Kanchan, this city's history can be captured in 3 layers, I can say. The ancient times, the medieval times, and the modern times. And each and every lane of this city or buildings of this city has a history to talk about. And since it was from the times immemorial, this was a confluence of Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and then also the influences of Muslim and Christianity. This city is a confluence, a melting pot of religious discussions, philosophical discussions. And this is about the architecture of the city, where you can find one side Mughal architecture as it is seen in the Kashi Naresh palaces, which were built somewhere around 1737, and around later there were a lot of ghats. The city is known for the ghats, were built by the different Maratha families, Holkar families, Shinde families, and other kingdoms of princely state families. So the architecture is also reflects. You can see one side a Rajasthani architecture, you can see Mughal architecture, you can see the ancient temple architectures as well. And this city offers a great deal in today's world. On a discounted terms, it offers a great deal of life lessons just in 1 week's time.
Right. Let us also see what are the famous temples, because generally people go for temple visit, because as we mentioned, this is a spiritual city. Now, when we are talking about temples, so what are the main temples?
Well, this city is having at least 2,000 temples, Kanchan, and world record holders in the temples. Probably these are more, but 2,000 temples, and these temples are in the serpentine streets, or we call them gully. बनारस गलियों का शहर है. एक गली से दूसरी गली से शहर खत्म हो जाता है, जिंदगी खत्म नहीं होती कंचन. So some of the great temples of this city are, of course, Kashi Vishwanath, Sankat Mochan, Bharat Mata Temple, Durga Temple, and there are many, many more such temples. Each temple has got a history, and each temple is a delight to visit. And the moment you keep your feet over there, there is a goosebumps because of the surroundings, because of the feeling of a divine presence in these places, especially Kashi Vishwanath, which I have felt personally. And people say that when you are in Banaras, you must make your presence registered with Kashi Vishwanath. Though he is the reigning deity or the king of the city, there is also a kotwal or a police officer deity in the city where you must register your presence if you have to be saved from some untoward events, which is also very common in this city.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, you see, Banaras has a special place in all Indians' heart because it is said that once you visit Banaras or by any chance you die in Banaras, then you attain salvation. The city is considered to be very, very pious. So, I would like to know now what is the maximum period one can spend in the city to really witness and visit all the places and witness that kind of feeling and aura of the city?
Well, Kanchan, for me, this is something very interesting, and I have never understood the essence of it. I have seen in Banaras or Kashi people reaching to some of the lodges or hotels, or not hotels, dharamshalas or lodges, that they would pass away very, very soon. They would die. And as you just said, dying in Banaras near the Ganges gives the salvation and freedom from the life and death cycle. There are places where people check in for a week or so or 10 days, and they think that they will pass away and they will be free from the cycle. But that does not happen all the time. So they have to move out. So Banaras or Varanasi is a 24/7 into 365 days city, always beaming and always in the move. And one can just observe it standing at from any one ghat, one can stand and just observe how in front of the eyes all aspects of life can be seen. In some ghats, people are taking a dip in the Ganges to do away with all the sins, and on some other ghats, people are cremating the bodies, and throughout the day and night, not a single time the cremation stops. So Banaras has got almost like 88 ghats. We've known 88 ghats, and all of these ghats are spectacular. Some of them are more popular than others, but I will tell you, every ghat has a story, and probably it comes from that Varanasi only. Ghat ka pani pee kar aaya hu.
Well, on a lighter side, you mentioned a muhavra kind of thing. But I also want to ask you that now in modern times, Banaras has shifted. I think I've never visited Banaras, and that is in my list to visit Banaras once in lifetime, because most of Indians, they have this city, I mean, in the traveling list, and they want to visit the city once in a lifetime. So I'm also among these people. But I would like to ask you, I've heard this is a combination of modern and ancient cultures, because it also represents by Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister, and Banaras has found its representation in the Parliament. And newly, I think last year, we also have a cruise which is being introduced on Ganga. So tell me how this is a mixture of modern and ancient cultures or lifestyles.
Well, Kanchan, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi chose Varanasi as his constituency. I think it is a feather in Mr. Narendra Modi's cap and not in Varanasi's cap. Varanasi has been a place for luminaries, for the Vidwan, for the intellectuals, for the intelligence. In the modern times, I remember Premchand, Madan Mohan Malviya, and the music gharanas of Pandit Ravi Shankar, Bismillah Khan, and many more. And in that list, there are, I think, in the city has given at least 2 or 3 Bharat Ratnas to our country. So Banaras is actually the cultural capital of the modern India, I would say, in last 300 years, where a lot of a thought process has gone through about shaping of the modern India. Banaras Hindu University, BHU, one glaring example of that. It was established with the help of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya and Annie Besant, who also started Theosophical Society in the city. And thinking about Goswami Tulsidas writing Ramcharitmanas and simplifying it around the time of Akbar's reign in this country around 1560. This is something which is amazing. And this city is also a place or a home to some of the great medical wonders like plastic surgery. This is one of the oldest plastic surgery practice can be found in Varanasi. Use of calculus. One of the ghat also has an observatory put up by one Rajputana king from Jaipur. So in this one place, this city shows about the life and death and everything in between. Food, amazing, all kinds of food. I know you are going to ask me about vegetarian food, and I must tell you, the breakfast of Varanasi, kachori, jalebi, milk, lassi, and there are others. Varanasi is a confluence of human life and for the celebration of human life. And I think this place is having a place of Shiva. I mean, this is Shiva's place. And therefore, there are even sometimes you can find tantric practices. In the 60s and 70s of India, this was the hub of hippie movement. Foreigners coming from outside and spending a lot of time around the Ganges in the Varanasi area. And sunrise and the sunset in the Ganges in Varanasi. This is something, a surreal world. It's a surreal experience.
Well, as you mentioned, the BHU, the Banaras Hindu University, and for our viewers, I would like to tell that Banaras Hindu University is one of the largest university of Asia, and all kind of education streams are being taught, from Jyotish Vidya to science to astronomy. Every subject will have a place in Banaras University, and now I will come to the city. Definitely, the city is awesome. It has a special place in our lives. It gives lot of, even by pronouncing also Banaras, Varanasi, Kashi, because Shankaracharya is also being said visited the city, and from there he started the traveling to all over India and taking the messages of Shiva. And as you mentioned, this is a city of Shiva. Shiva established this city. So now I would like to ask you how you will describe the city, maybe in 1 and 2 words.
No, this is not possible, Kanchan. For Varanasi, this is not possible because it has so deep connections, especially with me as a soul city. For me, I don't think there is any distinction of a soul city in our lexicon today. But this city is about Ganges. This city is about ghats. This city is about intellectuals. This city is about everyone coming together and believing in the happiness of life and also sadness of death. Or you can actually reverse it also. Happiness of death and sadness of life in the real terms. This city is also a place for so many different kind of temples. From India, I believe Kashi Vishwanath is being served by the priests from Tamil Nadu, if I'm correct. There are a lot of Bengali population in Varanasi. They have found some great Bengali mystiques in the shores of Banaras. And therefore, this city is larger than life itself. It is larger than its people itself. And one must visit this city. And I think, in the modern parlance, in today's time, probably it is not as a hot travel destination, uh, but one who is seeking to know some meaning of life must visit this city. And they would call, once they visit, they would call you Kanchan, they would call me and say thank you.
Well, as you have very well mentioned, because we cannot shrink the identity of city Banaras into few words, because it is a city of tremendous feelings, tremendous outputs, tremendous of giving to mankind, and from very antiquity, the city is being flourishing. It's being served by people. It's being kind of given many things to the people. But before I end, I just also want to mention to our viewers that Banaras is not only famous for spirituality, but it is also a modern city, because how can I forget the Banarasi sari? Or there are few modern things which are happening at the moment. After 2014, there's a lot of development which city has witnessed. So, as usual, Sitesh, it is so wonderful to talk to you, and we'll be taking a trip to another wonderful city of the world in our next episode. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kanchan. Thank you so much.
We have some unique Akulmach memorabilia which will make you look outstanding. The graphics on these corporate gifts are based on the global best business practices. To become recipient of one of these gifts for free, you have to watch this video till the end and provide your valuable comments, or you can also share your experiences. The person who makes the best comment would be chosen to become a recipient of these beautiful Akulmach gift, absolutely free, delivered to your doorsteps. The winner would also get a chance to be invited live as a distinguished panelist during our next video. What are you waiting for, friends? Please subscribe Akulmach and smash that like button.
Hello friends, this is Chandra from Akulmach Technologies. Welcome to Top Brass. Today, a very important event has happened in the capital region of India, that is New Delhi. A new chief minister has taken oath. Mr. Kejriwal has become the new chief minister of New Delhi state after a very long, almost like a 40 days fight during the election for New Delhi. So why I'm talking this is a very important event, because this has created a sort of a template for all future elections which will happen in India. Why I'm saying this? I would like to make few points before I come to the reasoning why I'm saying that this is an inspirational election for other political parties, and they have to understand why it is important as a template. Number one, the political parties have to know that they are not a company, they are a political party. And usually, political parties succeed on the basis of their ideology. So, the political parties who are, who are behaving more like a private company and not, bringing the issues which are related to ideology, those political parties will have a shrinking vote bank. Why? Because people don't want to give vote to a private company. They would like to give vote to a leader or a political party on the basis of what they are thinking. So one of the most important thing for any political party has to keep in mind is that their ideology is very important. And when I say ideology is very important, it's simply not speaking out in public forum. They have to also show that they are actually standing by their ideology. Because on one side, people keep, talking about in their speeches and all that, and their social media campaigns. But on the other hand, they do totally different things, and people actually see through this, and they actually feel that, they say something about ideology, which basically sort of ring bell with the masses of their voters, but when they actually do things which that is totally opposite. So the lesson that we have to learn from Aam Aadmi Party is, uh, never dilute your ideology, and that is exactly Aam Aadmi Party under the leadership of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal did. They maintain what they are standing for, whatever the whatever the pressure that came from the opposition. They did not change their ideology, and that resonate very well with the voters. That is number one. Number two, you know, give details of your work, what you have done, and what challenges you have faced, and don't speak words which does not mean anything. Because if you look at Aam Aadmi Party's opposition, they did not do anything. The opposition parties did not accept criticizing what good work was being done by the Delhi government. So give details related to what actual work you have done. Number three is never compromise on nationalism, because if you talk about something which is against the interest of the nation, because obviously one state is part of a larger nation which is India. So as a state, if you are bringing an ideology which is anti-national, or it perceived as an anti-national, obviously people will not like it. Most of the people, I would say 99.99% people, don't want to go against the idea of India. So these are the three inspirations that we have to take from this election. Number one, never compromise on ideology. Number two, always give details of your work, because what you promised in your last term's manifesto, and in the new term that you are going, or you're aiming to become or acquire power, you actually give that I have promised these things. My journey will continue, and I will, some of those tasks which are still pending, I will still work towards it if the people give them chance, and there are new things which as a government they will like to do. So, and number three is never compromise on nationalism, always talk about nations first. So these are the three inspirational or sort of learning that we get from this election. And hats off to Mr. Arvind Kejriwal and his entire team, all the team of ministers which worked very hard, and also being a political party, did a lot of propaganda around what they did. So this is exactly what the model which will continue from now on. And if the political party who are not very strong on ideology, people will not like them. Number two, the political party who are not working for the benefit of the people who have voted them, people will reject them. And people who are compromising on nationalism, people will reject them. So these are the three things which I feel, as per my analysis, is going to be the next template for next 10 to 20 years for political scene in India. So these are my views, and I'll see you again with some more interesting analytics tomorrow. Bye bye.
Hello friends, welcome to Akulmach Live. I am Kanchan Verma, and today we are taking you to a wonderful city. And to discuss this, we have a special guest on this show. So stick around to this episode till the end. You will get more information and you will enjoy this show. Welcome back, friends. And today we have Mr. Sitesh Srivastava, who is an IT professional, is closely related to radio broadcasting. And today he will be taking to a wonderful city yet again. So, without wasting any further moment, I would like to welcome him. Welcome to the show, Sitesh. How are you doing today?
या कंचन, हमारा नाम भी सूरबा भोपाली है वही नहीं है?
Oh my
You must have
God.
guessed it.
Oh my God. So we are going to Bhopal. Oh, lovely. A city of lakes, man-made and natural lakes, right? I guessed it right.
Yes, Kanchan. How are you?
I'm fine. So let's know more about this wonderful city, which is 16th largest city of India.
Oh, great. That's great. Yeah, I have some very fond memories of Bhopal and I want to go back to the city again and again, Kanchan. This city is very interesting, Kanchan. And I sometimes even are impressed. I'm impressed to know that this is also called Begum's Bhopal because it was the princely state between 1819 and 1926. It was ruled by 4 Begums, and that was such an interesting thing in during the British suzerainty in those days. Four Begums: Qudsiya Begum, Shah Jahan Begum, Kai Khusru Begum, and Sikandar Begum. And it is another interesting part about Bhopal is that in 1947, after independence, I think Mr. Nawab Hamidullah, he actually decided to remain as a separate unit, Kanchan, just like some other princely states. We also know about this happened in Kashmir. And during that time, agitations started and Indian government had to intervene. Sardar Patel's home ministry had to intervene. And only in 1949, 30th April, Bhopal state was accepted under Union Government of India. Very colorful history, though it pales in comparison to other more popular histories around around the independence of what we know about Kashmir, Lucknow, and Hyderabad. But Bhopal state is an amazing place. Bhopal state, now it is the capital of Madhya Pradesh, the heart of India. And because of the rules of the Begums, the city has some beautiful waterworks, railway station, postal system, and the municipality which was instituted in 1907. Have you been to Bhopal, Kanchan?
Somehow I missed this city because I went till Indore, but somehow I was not able to go to Bhopal. But that is again in the wish list, and time and again every week you come and tell us about the wonderful cities of the world, and in that process I always, while talking to you, think that now it is over, too much of social distancing, I must plan a visit to all these cities which we are talking about. Yes, so what we are talking about Bhopal, and what are the places we can or I can visit?
Well, Bhopal is a tourist's delight, not in terms of the popular tourist places that we know, but it is a tourist delight from the perspective of interesting lakes around the city. Upper Lake and the Lower Lake, and in between there is the Bhopal city. One is the old Bhopal city, one is a new Bhopal city. And the old Bhopal city has got all the old world charms of the bazaars, the galleys, the alleys, and the markets, and the smell of the biryanis, just like your Hyderabad, Kanchan. And the new city of Bhopal showcases about the modern development, some good malls, some great infrastructure,
architectural wonders. So it's a place where you find the old world, medieval world, and the modern world all together at one place. It's also a city with a great Hindu-Muslim fraternity, brotherhood that is seen in the city. Because of Bhopal's connection with the Begums, as I said, and also the founder of the city, somebody called Dost Muhammad Khan, who was in the armies of Aurangzeb, and after the Aurangzeb's demise in 1707, he came towards the Bhopal region and took up a place over there, and then he helped the local Malwa queen and the Malwa kings, and finally he took up that area which today we know as the Bhopal city. So and also after the independence, it was the second largest state, Muslim-led princely state after Hyderabad, Kanchan. So a lot of great traditions are there, lot of connections are there. For me, it's also sometimes a great Bollywood connection. The in-laws of our mega star Amitabh Bachchan, and also I believe a connection with the Karishma Kapoor and Sharmila Tagore also is seen in this city. So this is an amazing city, great place, great food, good festival, Diwali and Eid, and it's a great place for peaceful life. As you can see in the background, it's a scene from one of the lakes of the city of Bhopal.
Well, I really tempted to go this city because you mentioned about the rich culture, and you also mentioned about great food offerings which is done at Bhopal. So what are the places that in 1 week a person can cover once he plans to visit Bhopal?
So, Kanchan, Bhopal is very, very well connected within the India's railway network, within the air network. It has, Bhopal railway station, the Habibganj railway station, that is also the headquarters of the Western Central Railway, and Raja Bhoj International Airport. So, well connected, the heart of the city. Sometimes I feel that given the threats we have from our neighbors, why don't we have our one of the capital in Bhopal? It's safer from all the places that we know, and somehow I feel it is even safer than Delhi, especially from the military perspective. Great places from the Indo-Islamic architecture like Tajul Masjid, Taj Mahal Palace. They are like Indo-Islamic and the European styles. My favorite place, Kanchan, is Bharat Bhavan, which is a cultural headquarters, you can say, for Madhya Pradesh. It has got a cultural center, it has got auditorium, amphitheater, and lots of theater and the film festivals happen at Bharat Bhavan. A very, very favorite place. Then there is one Vihar National Park is there, and one must also see some of the great temples in and around the city. And this city never fails to impress that how this city lived through the volatile periods of history during the Mughals, during the Deccan Wars, during the British Empire, and still the city feels very, very peaceful, very, very rooted in the traditions. I also remember one thing, one place called Rashtriya Manav Sangrahalaya. So it's a kind of a museum for the humans. Bhoj Talab, largest man-made lake in India. Only city to be ruled by the Begums of Bhopal for over 100 years. And it is the city of lakes for its natural and artificial lakes, Kanchan. So believe me, you will never get bored in Bhopal.
Definitely, when you mention about the rich culture, I'm sure I can really visualize the kind of people on day-to-day basis, how they react to the tourists and how the strong connections they have with each other in the city. And I can very well visualize because I've seen it in Lucknow. So that is something which I really appreciated. Now, yes, rasgulla is one of the favorite dish in Madhya Pradesh. So, what cuisine Bhopal offers to the visitors?
Well, Kanchan, to be frank with you, I'm very, very impressed by the Mughal cuisine that I have tasted in Bhopal. Equally, I am in awe of the vegetarian food, and Bhopal offers a mix of both. And sweets, special sweets which are found in the Madhya Pradesh can be found in Bhopal. It's a great place to have, the culinary part of the, Madhya Pradesh tribals. So tribal cuisine is also available. And therefore, Bhopal may not have been a culinary capital just like Hyderabad, but it has its own unique sweets, vegetarian and non-vegetarian food, and simple food. And one side it is very rich, especially on the biryani side. One side it is as what you call sattvic food that is available across the town, across the 80 square kilometer of the city. Bhimbetka Caves is a great place, 35 kilometers outskirts of Bhopal. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And people also say, the legend says that Pandavas also chose it for their hiding in their exile period. And next time when I go to Bhopal, I will also try to visit Bandhavgarh National Park.
Well, definitely, I'll have all wishes that we all plan to go Bhopal and enjoy its culture, its cuisine, and visit places at Bhopal. So, what is that one place which you really appreciate so that we can share your experience with our audience?
Well, Kanchan, Bhopal is also a very modern city. It is home to one of the biggest industrial houses in the country, DB Corp, which is Dainik Bhaskar Group, also which is called Dainik Bhaskar Group. It's almost like a 17 billion rupees in business conglomerate. We all have a Manjul publishing house, which actually converted the Harry Potter series in Hindi. It's also a place for Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited plant. There is a Mandi Deep Industrial House, a suburb is there, which boasts something like Hindustan Electro Graphite HEG and Lupin Laboratories. And the international airport is, what I understand, is connected via the Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, which is used during the Hajj timings. There are some great institutions in the city. Indian Institute of Forest Management, the only one, I am told, the only one institute of its kind is there. Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIIMS, Bhopal is there. Indian Institute of Information Technology is there. There's a hockey team in the city called Bhopal Badshahs. They play in the World Hockey Series, Kanchan. And mall, DB City Mall, one of the biggest there. One of the biggest marketplaces, New Market. So yes, so Kanchan, for your shopping, sari shopping, jewelry shopping, New Market, and for your high-end shopping, you must visit DB Mall. Important is also to know about the people of this city, Kanchan. A great repertoire of these people: Shankar Dayal Sharma, our 9th president, Javed Akhtar, Najma Heptullah, Raghuram Rajan, 23rd RBI governor, Paul Srivastava, professor of management at the Pennsylvania State University, and many more. House to Jaya Bhaduri, home to Jaya Bhaduri. So this place never leaves you unsurprised about itself, and that is the great place Bhopal is. I would like to also think that I think Daulatabad is not very far. The historical place Daulatabad, where one of the Nawabs before tried to move the capital, and we have a famous Hindi phrase "Dilli se Daulatabad tak." So, yes, Kanchan, we must visit Bhopal.
How you
As I said in the beginning, Kanchan, once again, हमारा नाम भी सूरमा भोपाली है वही नहीं है.
okay? So that means you are quite impressed by the language and the way, the traditions of the Bhopal. So as usual, it is so wonderful to talk to you. Any last thoughts about Bhopal?
Kanchan, the city is a promising city, modern city, but a peaceful city, Bhopal.
So thanks for sharing your thoughts and your experience with this wonderful city, Bhopal. So we'll be meeting again with some other great city of the world. Till then, bye bye and you take care.
Shabba khair, Kanchan.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Hello friends, this is Chandra from Akulmach Technologies. Welcome to Top Brass. Today I have been joined by Mr. Swapnil Deshmukh, who's the CEO and founding managing director of Risarka Consulting. He joins us today from Mumbai. Welcome to the show, Swapnil.
Hi Chandra, glad to be here. It's interesting. Everything's locked down, and but everything's still working. Work is working, business is working. Interesting thing.
So, Swapnil, how does this lockdown is treating you so far? I know you are at home, and I'm sure you're working. You must have called a lot of people today. You must be speaking to your colleagues and employee. How does it look like in Mumbai?
Yeah. Uh, Everybody's adjusted to the whole lockdown situation now. It's probably on Sunday and Monday, it was a bit of a jerky reaction. Now people are getting used to the new system, new ways of communication, new ways of grocery shopping, new ways of staying at home and working while managing their kids or family at the same time. New ways of interaction between society members. So people have been developing new systems and processes, which is very interesting to see how they evolve.
So, in your place, in your society, are people following the government norms of maintaining social distance, or you have some challenges there?
More or less, they are. There have been some vigorous debates. So debates happen quite a bit on WhatsApp, but finally, whatever comes as a consensus or a majority view, uh, we have been seeing that people do follow. So, for example, someone wanted to go out for a walk. He is a diabetic patient, and he has to exercise, and he's used to walking. He doesn't have exercise equipment at home. The clubhouse is closed. and someone took a photograph of him at 6 o'clock or some 6:30 in the morning, and said that well, walking is not fine. And then we had a discussion, and we discussed. I also told my Singapore experience where I lived through the SARS crisis, and Singapore has a citizen army, and it was they have to be people of the fighting age have to be in a fighting condition. So it was very interesting to see how people kept fit. They have the battalion number, so they scheduled coming out at 2 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock at night, 4 o'clock at night to come and exercise and maintain social isolation. So we had a discussion, and then we kind of decided that okay, we know that certain people in the society are patients of a certain kind, and so at least other people will not go and walk around because of that. Otherwise, a broken window inspires everybody else to go further and say, if he's doing it, why can't I do it? And people don't know the reason. So it evolved through vigorous debate. So debates sometimes get heated, but I think it's really good. We are argumentative Indians after all, but it all works out in the end.
So it is working as per the government norms, and your society has been able to create certain norms and certain procedures to follow those norms.
Yes.
Very nice, Swapnil. I think you guys as a group has implemented that, the government norms and even the need of the hour to ensure that there is a social distancing between each one of us. Any suggestions you would like to make for people who are still not maintaining social distances?
I think we did find in one instance, for example, a few teenagers were breaking, and they're probably young. They have not seen such serious situations. Maybe not even 10% as serious situations in their life. This is once in a century kind of a situation. And then we had to counsel them. Their parents had to counsel them. It was the thing is, it's very difficult to understand the impact of this till you see something bad happening very close to you. And in our case also, in society building, couple of 100 meters from us, we found that there was a corona patient, and at that time the municipal corporation came and literally washed down the entire society in chemicals, and the gates were locked, and nobody was allowed to get out or in of the gate. And I think that was the first time people actually realized that this problem is not so far. It's not in the news. It's right outside them. It's just a couple of neighbors down the line. And once I think that realization comes, I don't think it really goes away. You really understand. You probably escaped death by not shaking hands with that person today. You did not know that that person had come from a place where he or she got infected with corona. And I hope that is not what everybody has to go through, but sometimes stories of such nature get you to kind of realize that seriousness. And we I think the entire society had that when we saw that society, we like people wearing those CDC, the Center of Disease Control kind of clothes, and with big sprays and cleaning everything, and wow, this is real. So
Yeah, I think this issue that has happened this time, I'm sure is going to change the way the people work across the globe, not only in India. In fact, when you're talking about the patient in the next door society, there were 2 suspects in my block itself.
Oh my God.
But they were actually following the government norms of 14 days of home isolation. So they are fine. They have been tested negative, but they are continuing with that. And the spray in our society happened yesterday. So I think in my opinion, it is not going to go away. I think it will change the world order. It will change the way we do things. And I'm sure you as a senior executive must be thinking what to do next, because I think you got your social responsibility, you got your commercial responsibility, you got employees with you. So I think the new change will emerge out of this issue. What is your opinion?
Uh, I think a lot of changes will happen, and it might look a little harsh at this time to use the word opportunity. But I think as an entrepreneur or as a businessman, uh, you cannot hesitate from thinking that way, uh, even in times of crisis, because end of the day, that kind of thinking helps you create services or products, ideas, which end of the day benefit somebody who is affected by this crisis. So while there is charity going on and all other kind of things going on, as a businessman, one should be as hawkish, though not take advantage of people's situations, weaknesses, but their situations are opportunities to, I think, help them and serve them. In this case, for example, many people are sometimes resistant to technology tools. They pick up the phone and talk, and which is why deep work doesn't happen. They keep on disturbing each other, and now it's just not possible to disturb, right? Because I cannot disturb my employee cannot disturb me, because both of us know that we have our family members at home. So using alternative tools other than phone calls is paramount and kind of forced. But if one uses this as an opportunity to use those tools, it will help in the long term to have remote working, have distributed teams, where people have more patience in checking emails or WhatsApp messages or dealing with each other, which will end of the day help deeper work and productivity of people. So similarly, for example, as simple as gathering information. Previously, in our society, we have a society manager employed, and he would just pick up the phone and he would ask, "Oh, so how many people? So what is happening on individual members on the intercom?" Now he's himself not there, and we had the situation that we had to comply with the municipal corporation's instruction that we should know in every house who's staying and when they came and did they have international travel and stuff like that. And uh, I usually did not get involved in the management committee's activity, because for my personal reasons I've been a little away from that. And I saw they were facing this problem and they were discussing. And it took me 10 minutes to create a Google form and then send the link to everybody. And within 24 hours, the link spread, and every tenant and every owner's data was there.